Hello everyone and welcome to another video on Angular. Here's the thing, I actually got quite few requests on my previous video on Angular shopping cart UI. The link of that video is given in the description, and the requests were mainly to get the add to cart functionality working. The previous video was just a UI and there was no functionality added. So I thought that let's get the UI done again using the latest Angular framework, and also get the add cart functionality working, and that will be a two-part video series. So first, this video I'd be recreating the shopping cart UI, and this time around I'll be using Bootstrap 4. In the previous video I was using Bootstrap 3. Once that recreation is done, I would move on to the second video. The video link is provided in the playlist and also in the description, in which I'd be going for adding the business logic of getting add cart functionality working. Anyone who don't want to go through the whole process of getting the shopping cart UI created, you can move on to the next video where I'm actually getting the add to cart functionality working. For the people who want to revise or redo the whole thing, then go to the add cart, stick around. We can create the UI using Bootstrap 4. In sequence, you can go for the second video. So I hope you all would enjoy this video, learn from it, and feel free to go for any questions, comments, feedbacks in the comment section below. So without further ado, let's get started. I have created a folder called Angular Experiments on my desktop, and I would be first going for creation of the Angular project through Angular CLI. So let's do that. Let me open up my command prompt and go for maximizing that would be good. Go for ng new, we'll call it shopping cart. Right now it gives me a warning that my global Angular CLI version is 9 and the one that is used inside the project is 8, which is fine. I don't think there'll be any difference as far as 8 and 9 is concerned. I would not be going for routing. As of now, I don't want any routing, so we'll just say no. We'll just be using plain CSS, so I'll just hit enter and let's wait for this project to get created. By the way, how to install Angular CLI is a video given in the description. I will just provide that link to you. It's a very simple process. While this installs, I'll also like to get some structure ready for what exactly are we planning for. Let's create a document. Shopping cart UI. So what we basically want is a pretty simple UI. It's a usual one that we go through for any shopping cart that we may see. Here's the main feature. So this will be my filter section. And I'd also like to have a products list and also a cart component. What I would also like to have is header and footer, of course, along with the navigation. I believe it'll be better if my header is here and my navigation is right at the top. There'll be a gutter margin on both the sides, and our navigation would simply be outside the container. We would like to have the header here, who would just contain the title. Navigation would be here as well, and I would also like to have a footer. So this is basically what I want as my component structure. Product list here. Inside the product list component, I would like to have product items. Product item, and we'd be repeating product item one after the other. And that will go on up till any number of product items are there. It'll just go on. Also, there'll be a cart item component. What I think here is that this sort of structure helps us as far as adding items to cart is concerned. So a cart item component would really be helpful. And of course, that component would be repeated. This is the structure that we are looking for. And by the way, this component, the whole square that I had built first, this is the app component that is the main root component of our application. There is a hierarchy that is forming in here. There is also a folder structure that we can form based on this hierarchy. So let me just get the folder structure specified here. As far as your Angular application is concerned, there is already an src app folder. So if I just open my shopping cart UI, there's already an src and an app folder in which there is an app component.ts. I'll keep the structure the same, And apart from that, I'd create a components folder in which there will be a shared directory. So that is basically the structure that we want to go for in this particular project. So we already have an src/app directory, right, in which all these things are there. In the app directory, I would like to have a components folder, and the components folder would have a shared folder because we need header, footer, and navigation shared. So in future there is a possibility of having multiple screens apart from this product listing screen itself. There could be a checkout screen, there could be a login logout, or sorry, login register screen, and so on and so forth. So what we need here is header, navigation, and footer to be shared between all the features. So shared would be a folder, and then there will be other folders of your featured components. So I would have a nav component inside the shared, then header and footer, and then I'd have the shopping cart component. So shopping cart component basically would be containing, let me just specify that in even much detail. Like if I just make some space in here, and if I add a shape, so this whole thing, this wrapper, is my shopping cart component. It's always a good idea to wrap a group of functionalities into the into a wrapper component, into a feature component. So this would be my shopping cart component. All right, and then there'll be other components in. So the blue colored one is the shopping cart component, and then it'll have further components inside that folder. So filters, product list would have a product item, and we'd have a cart, and we'd have a cart item. So this is the structure that we want to create. As of now, there is no other component because even we don't have routing involved, and we are not going to go for routing anyways. The only thing is that we would have many more feature components like the shopping cart component further down, like login, register, profile, settings, and so on and so forth. Checkout could also be a component. That all things, wish list or something like that. So many features can be added, where navigation, header, footer would stay the same. So that's the whole idea. Potentially you could extend the whole thing to a different level, but as of now we'll just go with the shopping cart. All right, and we'll try to create this sort of a hierarchy as far as our component structure is concerned. And what I would also like to do is represent this whole thing as a hierarchy. Let me just do that as well. So what we have here is our main component is the app component indeed. And I always like to do this while I'm teaching. However, it's not a good idea to do the whole exercise that we are doing while you program actually in the real world. Everything should happen in your heads when you program it in actual scenarios. So app component would have, let me just copy and paste that in. So app component would have header and shopping cart. I'll just name it shopping, no, doesn't matter. And it'll have footer. Let me move them to sides. Header, shopping, footer. It'll also have a navigation component as one of its children. That's the nav bar that we are talking about, and it's the shopping cart component that's the main one. All right, and this is the one that we are looking forward to implement, in which we would like to go for a few components. One of them is filters, and we'd also have products. I'll just call it products. I'll actually call it product list, but just to save space here. And we'd have cart. So product has items and cart also has its own items. So what we would do is product item, and what I'm thinking is I can repeat. So there'll be of course multiple product items in, and also there'll be cart item. and that will be repeated as well. Right, all depends on how much product items are added to carts. So that is the whole thing. That's the whole idea. So this is the hierarchy that we are trying to form. Let's just establish relations. And as I say, like, this is not a good idea while you're developing in real world. You might not have much time to do this, so you should keep on practicing in a way where this whole thing happens in your heads automatically. You don't have to do anything to get that done specifically. Like, you don't have to make an extra effort. So that's how you should program yourself. More than programming a shopping cart, for a developer it's important to program yourself. That's the whole idea. So we should just establish all these relationships and hierarchies, and the folder structure all should come to you automatically. That should be the goal, and that would only happen if you practice, needless to say. Right, so this is basically the structure that we want to create as a hierarchy. The first target is to get the shopping cart UI done. So let's get started on that. We'd like to create 4 components to start with: the navigation, the header, footer, and our shopping cart component, that is the feature. So let's do that. Let me just open up my editor, which is already opened actually, and let me open the terminal inside the editor. Mine is set to the bash shell. You might get a PowerShell to start with as far as Visual Studio Code is concerned, and then there is an easy way to get into the settings and preferences and set this to bash shell, or any other shell that you want. I'll just not go into that, but there is a possibility you can change your shell, your terminal itself. I'll go with ng generate component, and what I want is a components directory, and inside the components directory I want a shared directory, and inside the shared I want header. You can see that once this is created, components directory is automatically created. Similarly, shared and header directories are also automatically created. I would like to go with other components as well: footer and nav. Once this is done, I would also like to go with, inside the components directory, I'd like to go with the shopping cart directory. This is your feature. So along with shopping cart, there could be other features added, as I mentioned earlier, like login, register, profile, screen, settings. There's so many things. All right, shopping cart created, and you would be able to see inside the components directory there's a shared folder, header, footer, navigation, and a shopping cart directory where you have your shopping cart component. So first, let's get the project running, and also at the same time get the app component modified. This is a very beautiful UI inside the app component. We'd have to get rid of everything. So let's run the project, cd into shopping cart, and go for an ng serve. All right, it compiled successfully, and it also instructs us to open our browser on localhost 4200, which we would. So let me open up Chrome. And as you can see, a very beautiful UI indeed, but sadly we'd have to get rid of that. To create something new, we'd have to destroy something first. That's the rule of the universe. The whole thing would be like, if I imagine this, inside the body of your HTML document would be the app component.html displayed, and in which I would like to have a div with a class container, and that's basically Bootstrap. And I would like to have the header inside a row, so div with the class row, and a div with the class call. And I'd like to have the header in div row div call. Here there'll be the shopping cart, and oops, didn't get the class row there. And a div row div call footer. All right, and I would also like to get the nav. Actually, it's a good idea to get the usual, like Angular prefers this to happen. So we'll just go with header/header rather than the singleton tags. Shopping cart/shopping cart and footer/footer. So the navigation, header, shopping cart and footer. As of now, no styling involved. Actually, we'll just check out the names of the components. So header is app header, footer would be app footer, and shopping cart, the selector is app shopping cart. So that's basically what it'll be. And this is a good idea. Similarly, app nav, this is a good idea because nav is actually an HTML tag. We don't want it to be conflicted. So app nav. All right. There'll be the app header. App shopping cart. App footer. And you can see that nav works, header works, shopping cart works, footer works. So this is fine, but there's no Bootstrap yet. We have used the classes that Bootstrap would provide us if we implement Bootstrap. So let's get Bootstrap installed and implemented. So there are a couple of ways you can do this, but what I would go for is this manner where you download Bootstrap through npm in your project, and then you go for including Bootstrap as a style. So what we would do is npm install Bootstrap. Now this would install Bootstrap 4, that is the latest version right now. Alright, so this being installed, we would like to include Bootstrap in our Angular project. So I would like to go into the angular.json. As I said, this is one of the ways you can do it. And it's the styles JSON key that we would like to fill in. So the value would be an array, and in which I would like to include Bootstrap right on top of the styles, custom styles that we have. src/styles, by the way, doesn't contain anything. So the idea is to override any Bootstrap styles that we want inside the src/styles.css. So what we would do is we would like to go for node modules. As we know that npm install installs everything inside node modules of the project. So node modules, Bootstrap, dist css, bootstrap.min.css. So this is the path where Bootstrap gets installed. You can check it out inside the node modules folder if you like to. And once this is done, because we have modified the angular.json, you would see that there's no difference in the output. We would like to have that Bootstrap implemented. Bootstrap should kick in at this particular point where we would like the difference seen. So in this case, we would have to restart or recompile our program. We'll have to stop the ngserve and do the ngserve again so that the angular.json settings are taken in. So let's do that. Let me just stop this. Control C would just stop it. And I would like to do ngserve again. All right, compiled successfully, refreshing, and yes, you can see that the fonts are now converted to sans serif, that is one. And also there is a margin provided because we have provided a container inside our app.component.html. And the nav, because it is outside the container, it is just sticking to the border, which is exactly what we want as far as the output is concerned. So now we would try to program one component after the other. Bootstrap is already in, so all we need to do is use the specified class names as far as Bootstrap is concerned, and then we can go ahead and get the whole UI ready. So I would start with the nav component, and usually what I do is I just take in a sample that is provided by Bootstrap. So getbootstrap.com. Hitting enter would open up the Bootstrap website, in which there would be a section called examples. The examples are 4.4, the exact version that we're using. This is the one that I can use actually. Yeah, so this is basically the one that I would like to go for, this sort of a navigation. I'll just get ahead and pick this up. I'll go for a view page source, and we would like to go for the nav, which is this one, nav/nav. However, it also requires the whole div, so it'll be this div. And I believe you might have guessed it, that this section we would like to copy it from here and paste it in our nav.component.html. So I would like to go for doing so. Shared nav.component.html, saving it and checking the output should give me a nav that is shown as far as the example is concerned. And yes, here we have it, pretty easy. And then we can just change some things inside the navigation, like I'll just name it shopping. So actually this is the header. All right, and because it is the header, I would like to go for this to be h1. Let's see if that makes any difference. Yeah, it does. We'll stick to what it was earlier. And I would like to keep this inside my header.html. All right, and instead of my app.component.html, I'll get rid of this from my app.component.html, and I'll put that header in my nav.component.html. This would be a better idea as far as the example is concerned. Let's do one thing. Inside my header.component.html, I'll just go with a span tag. Right, and nav.component.html h5 would just call in the app header. Now my question to you would be that why was this problem faced? If you want to know, just just comment in the comment section, and I'll just make another video on this, because this is a very typical behavior in Angular. We would like to address that separately, not in this particular case. However, if you have your own views on why was this happening, you can also leave that in the comments. That will definitely help everyone else. So I'll not go into that much as far as the current video is concerned. You can just raise a request and I'll just make another video for that. So what we have right now is a navigation bar, and there are certain things in here, and what we would like to also go for is then going to the footer and shopping cart eventually. So let's do that. I would like to work on the footer first and then go into the shopping cart. So this is the whole beauty of component based programming. We can just separate the concerns, address things one after the other, and everything would eventually work okay. So we would like to go for a small tag in which I'd like to have a copyright statement. All right, and let's just check the output. Yep, that's about okay. I just like to have an HR tag just to separate things. That looks fine. We can also have the footer outside the container, which is totally okay. But we'll try to stick to this layout, and later let's just take a decision on the footer. I'll close all these things. And now we'd like to go into the shopping cart. So let's just close the footer. We don't need anything to do with the app.component.html anymore because it's all ready. And we'd like to focus on our shopping cart component.html. So if you check out the documentation that we created, our shopping cart component.html needs to have 3 components in. One is filters, product list, and cart. like filters, product list, cart. So we'd like to create these three components first, and the hierarchy would be something like this that we have. All right. So let's do that first, and then let's try to work on individual components. So what we would do is we would like to create ng. Actually, I do have an ng component shopping cart. You can just have slash ngc components slash shopping cart slash filters. And we'd also have product list. And we'd like to have a cart component. So once these three components are created, we would like to go for calling these three components inside our shopping cart component HTML. So according to the Bootstrap structure, they should contain one row and three columns. And each column would have each component. So for the first column, what we are hoping is it to have the app filter. The second column should have app product list. And the third column should have app cart. So I know for a fact that this is the naming convention that Angular follows as far as naming the selectors is concerned. Ideally, you would like to look into the product list.component.ts for a while to see what name of the selector is and how can you call it and all. So that can be done. As of now, we're just sticking to this. I think it is filters. Yep, filters works, product list works, and cart works. This is the output that we get. All the three columns are evenly distributed. That's also a good feature that Bootstrap 4 has added. We would like to have the middle column to be a bit wider than the others and eventually get the 12 column layout. So I would like to go for call MD8 in here so that the rest of the columns get set automatically. And yeah, this is basically what I would like to have eventually. This happens, and now we would like to get the product list created. Or maybe first we can work on the app filter and then app cart UI, and then we can go into the product list UI. So let's go into the filter.component.html. And remember, as of now, I would not be implementing any filter related functionality. At this point, we're just interested in getting the UI done for the filters, and hence I'll just keep one simple form in here. Later, you may try to extend the filters component on your own, or you may request that. So we would like to go into the filter with a form, no action needed, div with a form group. It's another class in Bootstrap. Label for from, and from here, input type number. So input, the class would be form control and the type would be number. And similarly, I'd like to have two. So 2 would be also a number, and here I'd provide an ID just to get the HTML semantics right. So there will be from, and the ID is equal to 2. All right, and a filter button. So this is like a filter by price button. So button, there'll be btn primary, and btn primary and btn block filter by price. All right, let's see how this looks first off. And this looks quite simple, not too fancy as far as the form is concerned. And I also don't like the curved border radiuses that Bootstrap provides. So I might want to change that in a while. But the thing is, like, I would like to have a card added in here. So it'll be something like this, div card body as well. So div card body, and that card body may have the form. Let's see how that looks. Okay, good. And we'll just like BT and SM might do the trick. The form is already having some padding, so I'll just keep this small as far as the button is concerned. And we would like to also probably provide a header. So div card header and filters. Let's see how it looks without the strong tags. Yeah, it looks quite okay. I might want to have strong/strong in. And the whole idea is to keep on adding more filters in here. It looks quite okay. I would like to get rid of those curved edges. Let's see how that works. So this is your filter form, and we would like to then move on to the cart first and then the product list. So let's go to the cart now. So I would be opening up the cart.component.html. Let's just close everything up, and cart.component.html might have multiple cart items repeated. However, what I want is a list group and list group items to be my cart items. So what I would like to go for is div, not div actually, ul list group and li dot list group item, and in which what I'm planning is something like app cart item provided. All right, and also repeated. So I'd be using one directive in Angular, which is a structural directive. It resembles a for loop. So ng4 is equal to, we'll start with a very basic placeholder. Let I of an array, and I'll go with a static array to start with, and then I would like to make this array dynamic and also this array to have cart items in. So that happens, and we would like to go for the cart item component, and that will be inside the cart folder. So let's create that as well. So we already have a command executed for creating a cart component, and what I would like to do is like to have a cart item added. And as you can see that this is added in here inside the cart. It's also registered, so I can directly use the app cart item component right away, and ng4 essentially loop through this array, and I would be one element out of the array for each iteration. So we don't have to keep on copying and pasting the app cart component or app cart item component. We would just like to go for the for loop inside the li. Let's see what output it gives us. And you can see that the cart item works. This is the output that we have, which is fine. I would like to get some things done inside the cart item, like just go with span item 1, and the output that I want is item 1 multiplied by quantity. So we'll have another span, let's say 4, and then a strong tag, something like this, let's say 300. And also I would like to have a filter added, which is a currency filter. I want the currency to be in INR, so I'd go for INR here. Yep, gives us the rupee symbol, and this is what we get as far as the cart is concerned. I can have a div cart item, all right, and this cart item can have a smaller font size. So if I want to do any changes to my styling, I already have a style.css included, in which I can go with cart item, and font size to be small. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, this looks quite okay. And that also tells me that I can do the same with filters as well, because frankly speaking, these are like quite big filters and we don't want this sort of a thing. So what we would do is we would like to add some things to the filter. Let's go into the shopping cart, filters, component.html, and we have a class cart, but then again, I'd also like to go for filters, and I would like to have filters in here, or maybe I can put it separate, because filters can have font size to be medium. Maybe that'll be a bit smaller, a tad smaller from what it is right now. Actually it is, doesn't make any difference, so I go with small. Yeah, this looks quite okay. Ideally you'd go with some sizes in here, but I'm not going to discuss that, like some definite sizes, or maybe if you use SCSS there'll be variables that you'd be going for as far as font size is concerned, but we'll just keep it simple and abstract for now. So style.css, and you can see that the cart is ready, the filters are okay. I would like to get rid of this curved border radiuses, so let's do that first, and then we'd work on the product list component. So let's again start with filters. Actually, we don't have to do anything as far as the HTML files of the components are concerned. All we need to do is just extend our Bootstrap in our styles.css. So what we have here is, if I do an inspect element, this doesn't look really, this doesn't look okay because it's not made for the mobile layout. But what we have eventually in here is the filter. And if I go with card, you can see that in this particular card class, there is a border radius 0.25 rem. We would like to remove it completely. Similarly, in the button, we have a border radius as well. So the card, the button, and a form control. Form control, we have a border radius as well. So we'd like to just get rid of that whole thing. Like get the border radius overridden with 0 pixels. So in our styles.css again, we would like to go for card, form control, and button, btn, to have border radius 0. Doesn't matter what unit it is in. If it is 0, it is 0 for all. So once we do that, you see that now these edges are like really crisp, and that's what I want, that's what I like. So we'll just keep it to it. And similarly for the cart component, so let's just do an inspect element. So basically what happens here is the li first child has a border top left radius and border top right radius, and probably the li last child has a border top left radius, or sorry, border bottom right radius and border bottom left radius. So this is what I'll like to change. So first child and last child. Let's go ahead and go for that. So list group item last child and list group item first child. I'll change it here. First child would have the top and the the border top radius and the border right radius. What was it? Let me just inspect element again. Li first child, border top left, border top right, border bottom left, and bottom right. So actually I can just copy the whole thing here, copy this, paste it in, and this border top left could be 0, this could be 0, and similarly the bottom right radius can also be the same. Bottom right radius can also be the same. So instead of top left, we'd go with bottom left and bottom right. So when we do this, we would get those crisp edges, and that also suits our navigation, because that's the whole idea as far as navigation is also concerned. And moreover, inside this cart component.html, I'd like to have a total. So it'll be like li with a list group item, and this would be active, that it gets a background color, and we'd have total and interpolate some figure, some random total. Eventually this will be programmatically generated, and I would like to filter it with the currency filter, which would give me USD by default, and I would like to have INR as an argument to this particular filter. Once this is done, we would get the total in, like total this. It looks quite okay. This is the way that I want it. I mean, total should be more prominent, so that is fine. And then we would like to have the product list working. Let's go into the product list now. We would like to add the list of products as per one of the other examples in Get Bootstrap. So let me just take in the examples. And this is what we would like to have. A product thumbnail, some content. Instead of minutes or something, I'd like to go for the pricing in here, and then add to cart and view details sort of buttons would be in here. So this is basically what I want. Before that, I would like to also add the product item component, because if you check the hierarchy here, a product list contains a lot of product items repeated. So we would like to get the product item component created. So let's go for that. And generate component, or maybe we can just use the previous one. So, and I probably would have product list as well, and product item is what we want to create. All right. So now inside the product item component, we would like to go for the thumbnail portion and the details and all, while the product list would be a wrapper component to the product item. So let's see in here, if I go into the examples page and view page source, jumbotron not necessary, container and row and a column d4. So this is the combination that I want. Like I can just copy the first item, and what I can do is I can get the div, which is this one, take this out from here and put it inside the product item component. Let me just close down all the other things. So this is basically what the product item component would look like, and we would like to get the app product item displayed in here, and also an ng4 like we did for the cart component. ng4 let I of an array. This is what it looks like, and instead of this thumbnail image, or instead of this sort of a thumbnail, I would like to have an actual image. Right now, if you check the this one, it's an SVG. I would like to actually add an IMG SRC instead of an SVG image. Rubik's Cube, that's what my favorite thing is. So Rubik's Cube images, and we would go with this one. Right now I'll just keep one image. I didn't mean to click on this. Copy or open image in a new tab, and yeah, this is fine. I mean, we can have the data of the image and that'll be fine. So I would like to have an img width to be something. Height is fine. I mean, we don't need to give the height, and src would be this. Now let's see how it looks like. This looks decent, and then there's a description. So we don't have to do much on the product list as of now, because as of now it's fine. I mean, we are going for a static array, repeating it, looping through it and all. That is fine. We might want to make this one dynamic, and the same for the cart item as well. We might want to make that one dynamic as well. So we'll just keep this. This actually, it's quite weird. I mean, this will just distract us for a while. So let me just get some legit image URL rather than the data. So let me go for this one. This is sort of a, yeah, it's a PNG image. You can just copy that, and instead of this, I'll just go for that image. This doesn't look to be distracting, so this is fine. And I think there's one div that is missing, so let's add that. And the rest of the things are fine. Let's just check the output. This looks quite good, and then it'll depend on what image we use and all those things. Like the image needs to have some padding and all, so that from everywhere it just padded a bit, right? So this looks good, and instead of view and edit, we'd have different buttons. So this would be outline primary, and this would be outline secondary. This is fine. So add to cart, and we can have view details, and instead of 9 minutes, we'd like to have some pricing attached to it. So let's say 250, whatever, 254. Currency can be INR. All right. This looks a bit over the top. So what we can do is get this out of the way. If I do that, I think those two buttons would be, yeah, these two buttons would look good, and add to cart and view details would be fine. And I'd like to have a pricing attached to it. So p card text and strong. Right, so I don't want the text to be muted. We can keep it strong, and we can get the small tag out of the way. This looks fine. And also add to cart and view details. I don't want them to be in 2 lines. I think I should be able to get a product button class added, and we would have some font size to be small. I don't know what this would do. Let's see. Very small. Yeah, this looks fine, and we can live with it. What I would have is these two buttons, like instead of outlines, I might want them to be more prominent. We'll just keep them primary and secondary. All right, view detail doesn't look that good, so I'll keep the outline for secondary, and add to cart would be more prominent as a button. Right, so this is fine. Add to cart, view details, and we have total can be. One thing that is irritating about the cart's total is that it has a colon here, which I don't want. Plus I just want the total to be strong, and that's it. Right, this looks even better actually. Rather than having it in 2 lines, 1 line looks better. So this is the UI that we are trying to get through. So as you can see, that Angular makes it really easy for us to get this sort of a functionality created, and we would like to get the add to cart functionality working in the next video, and I'll also give you the GitHub link to this particular code. So here's the point where the current video ends, and we have this whole product list ready. So what I would like to do in the next video is I would like to make this add to cart button functional, and when I do that, there will be still more scope of improvement as far as the entire product is concerned. We would like to discuss that in good detail about what could be improved on this particular UI or in this particular application that we are creating. But for us, for this video series, the current video is done, and the next video would be add to cart functionality strictly.